Got it. Welcome, everyone. All right, welcome to our first official weekly sync, where we'll start with demos from the two teams. We'll do a learning module on code review, which will be really nice just to give you an overview of honestly what it looks like in GitHub when you're doing code review, and just how to do how to get started and what a good code review looks like. And then Scott's going to go over the issues for the coming week, and we'll talk about your pairs, and then we'll figure something out. If Ekram is out sick this week, we'll figure something out for our pairs. Yeah, so actually, Arvin and Jennifer, would you mind going first then for demos to give Manon a time to prepare mentally?
To be honest, I didn't even know we had to demo until now.
So we might need some guidance. Is that what you're saying? Like, because I've never done a demo before, and I don't know if it entails pulling the most recent version and then sharing screens. I'm not really sure what to expect.
Oh, okay, sure. So I'm going to share this link in chat, and this is the link of the app that's working. So what you'll want to do is someone should share their screen and do like a walkthrough of what you two built. So you'll do a walkthrough of what it looks like on the website itself, and then maybe talk us through your code a little bit. It can be super high level. It doesn't have to be detail. But that's what it looks like. So let's just give it a shot, and we can talk you through it as you go. But if you decide between the two of you who wants to share their screen and who wants to talk about which part, that would be great.
Okay. And if I might interject too, hopefully I'm coming through clearly. Yep. I would just say that you probably will never feel prepared for a demo. I almost always feel like something goes wrong, and so the fact that you probably feel unprepared now is fairly normal. And then to add to that, when it comes to demoing your code, it's always good to keep in mind who you're demoing it to. So we happen to be a room full of developers now, so it's great to dive into the super technical details if you wish to do so, or sometimes questions will come up and you might want to be prepared to answer those. But then sometimes you'll be demoing them in front of designers or maybe an executive team for your company. And so you'll want to kind of shift your demo's presentation to something a bit more less technical in that sense. But just a little tidbit there for you.
Yep, and really just like 5 minutes. 5 minutes is.
Yeah, just what'd you do this week? It would be great if you could show us the substance of it live, but we'd just love a walkthrough of kind of what the process was like as well. I think would be ideal.
So let me just find that. I'm fine with sharing, so I don't know, Jennifer, if you want to speak, or I could also try and do it.
I mean, I'm fine with either. If you've already got the screen up and you want to share the screen, that's fine. Is it normal for a team to, I guess, demo together and for one member to essentially kind of lead it and have the other member interject as necessary?
Yep, it's really, there's no set way to do it, honestly. There's really no set way. So this is something to know for next week. You're going to want to think ahead of time about how you might want to present it. So like so-and-so will share their screen and talk through this part, and then so-and-so will talk through the other part. It works a little bit better if one person does the sharing, because then there's not the back and forth of switching off sharing, but.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Arvin, did you want to share and start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. I was just starting the server. And share screen. Cool. All right.
Awesome.
So yeah, so this is what it does now. I still have to should probably open the Firebase too.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, the console. So yeah, so first we didn't know how to get it started. We thought we had to connect it first, and then we came across this Firebase file, which does all the connection and everything.
It's in the source, and then
Yeah. Yeah, so right here. Right. And initially it was without this compat, and I think this is what's the name? There was a discussion going on about the compatibility with the new version and the hooks.
Mhm.
And I just typed in the error and it gave me this in Stack Overflow. I typed it in and it started working again. I don't know exactly what it does. Just probably not. I should always understand what's happening too before putting it in, but I really don't. So yeah, so after that, I saw that this was exported. So I'm guessing this is going to be the connection we're going to have with the database anywhere. We just import it. Then we needed to make a throwaway component, like
I think
it's
it's in
specified.
source. I think it's in source components.
Right,
There
there
it
it
is.
is. Cool. So now we import the database connection. Import the hooks. This I got from the walkthrough video, and also the documentation on the hooks in GitHub. Yeah, so we just made a simple form controlled using the state over here. And this use collection hook from the Firebase React hooks, which gives us the value of the collection we entered, and it gives us a loading either true or false, which we use to determine whether or not to render the collection or not. And if it errors out, we could throw an error. And this is the way we're handling it here, by just checking if it's a truly value, and if it is, render this HTML. And also when it's loading, render this collection loading. Otherwise means it finished loading, so we just render the collection. Boom. We have this little form right here, which basically just keeps track of the input and sets the state. And whenever they press the button, it fires off the, whatchamacallit? Where's that button at? There's submit.
I think it's on the form.
Yeah. And then on submit, we do this prevent the default, reset the form again, and just use this add method from the, from Firebase, which just, what add does is it automatically sets an ID for the collection instead of having to manually put it in. And then we just send in this object of the item and price from the form, and console log submit it. And you could try that out in the browser by going here and adding what's peanuts, cashews, right? So name cashews, let's put in a price. Yeah, so we have it as a string just because whenever it's a rounded number, it would appear without the decimals. That's just the reason why. I mean, if we do have to make any calculations or anything in the future, we would have to probably switch it to a number, right? So $3, right? And then you could check that out in the browser and see it's here in the bottom. The same thing, yeah, thank you. The same thing if we
Did you have to refresh that, or was that just
oh
like
no,
a
I didn't.
WebSocket connection?
So
Really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
Firebase is magic.
Yeah, it seems like magic. I haven't really worked with it, but this all seems really cool. I'll have to give it a shot.
And I actually, I never thought about that. So I don't know if you know, Lauren, does it sends like a signal to this, which then updates the state.
Yeah, Firebase listens behind the scenes. So if you don't use the hooks library, you can also make this happen. I think it's called, the Firebase method is called on Snapshot. So Firebase is always listening, and you don't have to do like, dot then reload, get the data again. It's listening for you.
That's really cool.
It's super nice. Yeah.
It also does it when it's like, even when the server is not working, it's still like say, for example, I close this, hopefully it works now, right? And I add another one, it still renders. Like, I don't know. I won't put a price just for this, but okay, it's not doing it now. It was something like that.
Oh yeah, there it is. I see it up top.
Oh yeah. That's pretty cool.
Wow, cool.
And I guess that's what it is with the whole offline thing, that it still works when it's offline. But yeah. And then that's not the one. Right, so yeah, so I added it through there, and then if I try adding it through here, also works. There it is.
Wow, this is awesome. It seems like setting this up, like Firebase just makes it really easy, doesn't it? I mean, obviously it wasn't the easiest thing in the world to learn the documentation, but now that you know this, I imagine setting up another form would be pretty simple. Like it seems almost as easy as creating like a local form and storing this in local state, but you're actually interacting with the database, which seems
exactly
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice that we didn't have to actually set up Firebase ourselves, because I started reading that documentation. I just thought, oh no. And then I talked to Arvin, and he's like, wait a minute, no, because I checked into that. And then he showed me the library. I'm like, oh yay, we don't have to do all that. But I mean, it's basically like, I mean, I think most of us have worked with either SQL or like Mongo or something like that. And so it's just making sure that you've got all of your IDs and tokens and everything matched up.
Yep.
Very cool.
And there's also another way to do it, which is like right here, we're using the namespace way. There's like another way where you just import a bunch of methods from Firebase. And I just felt like, and Jennifer too, that it was way more complicated that way. And here's okay, this is namespace too, but you have to pass in arguments and a bunch of stuff. And I just feel like it looks way cleaner like this. So we just went with that.
Yeah, it was nice because we had the option of, instead of allowing Firebase to set the document ID, I mean, we could do that ourselves if we wanted to, but I didn't really see a point. I mean, and so if someone made the argument that, yeah, we actually want the document ID to be the name of whatever the item is, we could do that, but it seems like targeting this, I don't know. It just seems like, especially if you have duplicates, but the pricing is different, there's an argument that you'd want to target the ID versus the name of the item.
Right.
Yeah, definitely having a unique ID on the field is super useful. So good call on that. This looks great. Very nice work. I'm impressed. I'm going to have to try out Firebase sometime. This kind of got me excited.
All right. Nice work, y'all. Super excited. I'm glad that some other groups had to beat their heads against the wall for the troubleshooting of getting the new version of Firebase and Firebase hooks playing nicely together. So very nice work. All right, Manon, we should keep moving because we want to make sure we have time to set up branches at the end and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay, sure. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
Okay. So I just pulled this up first just so I could like refresh my mind. I know what I did or what we did, but so Ekram and I had this issue that we wanted to navigate between the list view and the add and item view. So that way the interface is clearly delineated. between viewing and adding. Also noting that React Router DOM is added as a dependency and that the links are present and persistent at the bottom of the app, one for the list and one for the add item, and that when one of the links is clicked, that the browser URL updates to represent the current view and a matching component view is displayed. And whichever view is selected, that the corresponding link should display in bold text. So if I look here at the link that was provided, so for Ekram and I, we decided to add in like a kind of navbar component that would render an add item component and also a view list component. And so when we click on view list, this here, the link is bold, and we can see that the view list portion is here, and also add item brings us here. And looking at the code, how we did that is first within our class app, we had downloaded React Router DOM, and then we routed the route and switch and browser router. We didn't have to use link. And so we created our components off to the side. So in our public, it's not our public folder, sorry. We created a components folder where we added navbar .js. We didn't need with auth. And then we also added in, I believe was it SRC? I think pages, yes. Our add item component and home and view. So what we did is created home first, and then within there, we just had, this is the home page, just like a landing page. And then here, we had add item, and also in our view list component, view list. And navbar did basically most of the work in terms of adding the list, the add item component, and also view list component. And for the styling, we used kind of like an attribute, I guess, of React Router DOM, which is the active style. And here we were able to set the font weight to bold and color to blue. So that way, when you click on it, it would change the, I guess, the design of the font. And last in app.js, we basically like wrapped each of the components using switch. So that way, when you click on the link, it would like first it would land on the home page, and then the browser URL would be updated when we route the paths here using add item or view list. And that's basically how we created it.
Cool.
Very cool.
That was an excellent impromptu all by yourself demo. That was
Very nice.
super, very nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love navlink. Is awesome because it has that active style prop on it, and like it has that built-in active class, which is super, super nice. You can use just link out of the box too, but if it's a nav link, it has those extra things that make styling them.
Yeah, we found an article that really helped us out a lot in terms of doing this, because the first day we put our heads down together and thought about like which type of components we wanted to use, whether we wanted to use a class or just a function-based component. And like we tried just like having 2 components to start, but we kept on getting an error with like some functionality in terms of browser router, like not being compatible with what we were trying to do. And so we looked for more documentation to see how like we could just get around it. And then ekram found a great article, and we just put our heads down, we looked at it, and basically decided to give it a try, and then it worked. So yeah.
Nice.
Did you have any trouble specifically with this package where you found articles that didn't necessarily match up with what you were seeing in the code? And I only ask because React Router has gone through multiple versions where they've entirely changed how the package works. And so in my experience, when I've used this package in the past, I'll go and maybe I'll find an article from like 2018 or something before the last major rewrite of the package. And the blog post I'm reading doesn't match up to what like I can actually do in the code. And I'm wondering if you encountered that in this project.
Yeah, definitely in the beginning, we did find some trouble with some articles, more so because a lot of articles used link more than actually like using route and like switch. I had in the past used React Router before, but it had been a long while. So I definitely needed to refresh my memory on it. But yeah, like I feel like it was a bit unclear using those initial articles, and I felt like we kept going around in circles a little bit. And so we just said, okay, like let's scrap and try something new. And the article that we found definitely worked.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it.
Awesome. All right. Well, Lauren, would you mind? I guess you're doing our kind of substitute learning module instruction.
Yep. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just getting a couple things prepared. One moment.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. Just so everyone knows, I kind of put this on Lauren like 5 minutes ago because my internet wasn't working. So sorry in advance to everyone. That's my bad.
No problem. No problem.
Tanner, you know, happens to all of us. Many of us have moved in the past as well.
Oh my gosh. All right. Can everyone see the slides okay? I'm not going to put it in present mode because it's just easier to switch back and forth from tabs, but can everyone see the slides all right?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. So today we're going to talk about code review. We'll have a little bit of time to talk about the experience. Actually, we're not going to have time probably to talk about what your experience this week was with code review, but we will talk about what code review will look like going forward. So what we're going to talk about, what is a code review, what the code review cycle looks like and what it'll look like at Collab Lab, what makes a code review a great code review, how you can help other people review your code. This is my favorite part. How can I review other people's code? And we're going to do just right in GitHub. How do you do a code review? What are some of the tricks that we use to review other people's code? So a code review, I like to think of as a conversation between you and your team, right? It's a conversation about a set of changes that you would like to introduce into your production code. It's a great place to share knowledge. It's not just about somebody coming in and saying, oh, I would do this way and I would do this way, but it's really a conversation between you and the other developers. It's a great place for you as a reviewer to ask questions and as the developer to ask questions. I know all of the time maybe I'm implementing something and it works, but I think there's probably a better way, but I'm not sure what it is. I will ask my team, hey, what is a way that maybe you would approach the same problem? So it's really a conversation. It's a collaboration space where you share your work, you're asking questions. It helps you improve as a developer, both on the receiving end of code review and on the giving end of code review, because you practice all of the time reading code, right? And not just writing it. It's really awesome. And then it helps your team to decentralize knowledge, right? As someone who's reviewing someone else's code, then you have an understanding of what someone else is working on and what changes are being introduced into the application. It helps you just kind of keep up with what's happening in that application or in that repository. It's a shared responsibility, like we share responsibility on the code quality and it helps improve the code quality because you have another set of eyes on the changes that you'd like to introduce. So the code review cycle looks like this, and this is what we all did this week. You open a pull request, you receive feedback from your teammates, you incorporate that feedback, they go back and see, okay, does this meet the acceptance criteria? Have they incorporated that feedback, et cetera? And that cycle might take a while, giving and receiving feedback and making changes, et cetera. And then once it's approved, once your teammates give it the thumbs up, then you get to merge it into production, merge it into me. So what makes a code review a great code review. We have a lot of tools in place as developers already that take care of like stylistic things like spaces versus tabs, or using semicolons or not semicolons. Like if I'm talking about JavaScript, we have a lot of those tools that just automate away all of those decisions. So we don't really want to talk about stylistic things. We really want to focus on the code quality. Like, is this the best way to solve this problem? Does it solve the problem, number one? Is it the best way? Does it introduce any problems that maybe we're not seeing right now, but problems that might pop up down the road because of the way this was implemented? What you want to do as a developer, you want to try out that feature locally, either on your machine, or we do have in our GitHub environment, we do implement deploy URLs. So if I scroll down here, right, Firebase will automatically create a preview URL. So we can just go right to this URL. And there's our test environment. You don't have to pull it down locally on your machine to test it out. Of course you can too. Look at the code from a readability standpoint. Like, will you as a developer be able to read that code in a month and understand what it does? Does it need some comments, or could it be clearer? Could it be written more clearly? I think something that we all forget to do as reviewers is to be sure to offer praise, specific praise about what that person or what that team has done with their pull request. It's really important to call out the really good things that people have done, and it creates a trusting, positive environment for code review. Default to approval, this is so great. Let's say that someone's opened a pull request and there's just a teeny tiny change that they need to make, right? That it's just like they spelled something wrong, or just a teeny tiny change. You can make that comment and you can still approve the pull request because you trust that your teammates are going to make that change. So defaulting to approval is a great way to do code review. Being kind and empathetic is so important in code review. And it's challenging to get that across in writing, as opposed to like here we are, we're talking in person. It's much easier, I think, to understand from someone's tone of voice and when you're with them live, as opposed to just reading what they wrote. So be mindful when you're giving comments on code review that you're being kind and empathetic and thoughtful in that way. Let's see, when you are the person opening that that pull request, you want to make sure that others understand your changes. It's really easy, like we're working on a feature, we're working on solving a bug. We as the developers have a ton of context about that particular issue or about that particular problem that we're trying to solve. And it's important when you're opening that pull request to give others as much of that context as possible upfront, without them having to ask you questions about it, because they just don't have the knowledge that you do about the particular problem that you're trying to solve. And I'll show you what that looks like. I don't know what that means. Oh, if if others are asking you questions on your pull request, try to answer all of their questions or ask for help. Like, always ask for help. It's totally great. And then take your time. Going through someone's code and reading through someone's code takes a lot of time, right? You don't have the context that they do as the developers. Take your time and really try to understand what's going on. It's a great way to improve your knowledge as a developer. Great. So we already talked about this. It's important. So I work for Zapier, and we actually don't have QA, which is a really different environment that I've worked in before. Before, I've had specific QA departments where they are in charge of QAing what we've. They're in charge of going through the steps in the web application to make sure that what we created works as expected and doesn't break anything. At Zapier, we don't have that. So it's important, and I would argue, even if you don't have a QA department, to make sure that the code that the team has written does what it's supposed to do and doesn't break anything. So run it either locally on your machine, go through all of the steps, kind of test around it. Like, oh, let's say like Manon and Ekram had routing set up this week. This coming week, you'll want to make sure, oh, is the routing still in place? Does that stuff still work when other people are adding new code? So kind of go back and test around what the team has implemented. Don't be tempted to just skim through things quickly and say, yeah, it looks good to me, but really try to understand what's going on. The PR can include instructions on how to run the code, depending on the team. But for us, we have these preview URLs, which is great. It's always great to provide a lot of instruction, though, on your own pull requests. And then, of course, if you're not sure about how something is working, make sure you ask lots of questions. That's a great habit to get into as you are working on code review, is to, as part of your code review, ask questions of the developer, right? That they're the experts on this code. They're the ones who wrote it. So asking questions is a great way to review code. So how can I help others review my code? You really want to write a meaningful pull request description. So we have in our repositories, we have this pull request template. So when you, what's going on? There we go. When you open up a pull request, this file automatically shows up in GitHub. Fill this out as completely as you can. Write a nice description. So I opened this up really quickly, and I probably could have done a much better job, but right, the add item route was pointing to the add item page, but the add item component wasn't available there. There was also a bit of syntax trouble on the app page. This fixes that, right? So I'm giving a description of what the changes that I've made are. It's a little bug fix. I did a little refactoring, and I updated dependencies. Before the build was failing, it's a great idea to include screenshots. So giving as much detail as possible in your pull request description is super useful. So here's something that I'm doing at work, and I'm just doing a spike on something, and look, I've written this huge description about what I'm trying to accomplish with this pull request. It seems like a novel, but it's an in-depth overview of this pretty big change that I'm trying to make in my code, in our code base. So giving your reviewers as much context as possible is super helpful. Now, where am I? Nice. Self-review your code. This is my favorite thing to do. So I like to go through my files, and I will write comments like, this is why I did this. This is the reason that this was breaking, and this is how I fixed it, right? Giving my reviewers as much context as possible. I feel like this is I don't do many things amazingly as a developer, but this is like my superpower, is self-reviewing my code, and it helps my code review go faster, and people approve my code a lot faster, right? It just helps the cycle go a lot faster. So self-reviewing your code, explain why you did what you did, and then ask questions, right? Like if you're not sure if this was the best way to implement something, someone else might have a better idea. And then using screen capturing tools like Zappy is super great. You can do screenshots, you can do animated GIFs. Using Loom, you can use Loom for free. It's just a screen recording tool, and you can give a little video demo of what you've done. Very, very handy. Nice. Okay, so let's flip over to GitHub, and let me demonstrate how I might do a code review. All right, so first of all, of course, I will go through, read their description, and I will look through, take a glance through the files, right? I go to this files changed, and I look for any comments maybe that they made on their own code, just so I have that in my mind. I do an overview of the files that they've changed, just to get a general idea. I will run the code either on a preview URL, or I'll pull it down locally on my machine to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. I will then here are a few little things you can do. So I'll look file by file. Right now I'm looking at my file side by side, which is useful for me. But if you go to the settings thingy right here, you can either do unified view. Is that what I want? Yeah, unified will show things file by file. But if I do split view, that shows things side by side, which I prefer, but you might prefer something else. So that's just a teeny tiny thing. And then I can look at this and like, okay, I know what this is doing. I'm going to click viewed. So I know I don't have to go back to that file. Like I know that one's good. That gets it out of my face. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So then I look through the files. Maybe I want to make a comment and I'll say, oh, I wonder why you named this as such. Right? You can make a comment right in line. So just by clicking this little blue button, you can also, yes, I don't want to really make that comment. You can also suggest code changes right here in GitHub. So if I click this and right here, this says insert a suggestion. So I can just click on that and then it'll let me change the code right in here. And I'm just going to say const theme wrapper, right? I think that might be a good name. And then I'll add a single comment. And then it lets that person just commit that suggestion right in line. That's a really handy thing if like maybe they just misspelled something, or if you had just a teeny tiny change that they can make. This really helps them out, and then they can just commit that suggestion in line. All right, get rid of that. Yes, don't actually want to change that. And then another great way to review code is to go commit by commit. So how you can do that is I'm still here in the Files tab. I can look at changes from all commits, and then I can just read, let's see, yeah, I can go commit by commit and see how they implemented that code step by step. So I'll look at this commit and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what they're doing, great. And then I can look at the next commit. Okay, that's what they tried next, right? And this is especially handy for when you've already reviewed that code one time and they've made changes. This is a super handy feature to just like look at their last commit, right? That you just want to see what's the change that they made since you reviewed it last. That's especially handy. And then assuming that you're satisfied and all of the requirements had met, then the final step that you want to do is this review changes, right? You want to click one of these buttons. Either you're just commenting and making general comments, requesting changes, or you are approving that code. You'll click approve and then submit that review. Right, that's super duper important, is the approval part. All right, so that is sort of nuts and bolts of code review. Does anyone have any questions about that part of it? Awkward silence. But does that give you a better idea of just even what to do step by step on how to review code, like just the little different things that you can do, what code review looks like, and how to accomplish that in GitHub? Does that give you a better idea? I'm trying to think if there are other things.
It definitely helps me because I had no idea what I was supposed to be looking for. I'll just be honest. I looked at your code. I promise. I looked at it, but I didn't know what I was supposed to say. I didn't know quite what to look for, because if it worked, it worked. And that was my baseline. And I didn't have a whole lot to say about it. And in terms of style and all of that other stuff that comes with time for programmers, I can't really comment on that yet, because I feel like I'm still trying to figure that out. But this helps, so thank you.
Yeah, I would say that code review itself is very much a skill in its own. Like there's coding on your own, and then there's code review, right? And the thing I struggled with for a really long time was finding the confidence to critique my seniors. You know, they would be like, oh, review this. And in my head, it's like, oh man, they're seniors. Like there's nothing that I can say that they don't know. But finding that confidence is difficult, but really rewarding once you're there and you can start doing that. So just, you know, always feel comfortable to kind of speak your own mind and try to leave feedback where you feel you can. And it'll help you grow a lot as a developer.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I share a lot of the same sentiments, Jennifer. Like I know during office hours, I asked about that because I was looking at the code and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what do I say? What do I do? You know, it wasn't clear for me because I don't have that experience in terms of, you know, writing a good code review in general. Also too, I guess it's for me as well, being a new developer, that I'm not going to understand everything. So understanding how much time is going to be put into like reviewing code and, you know, practicing like how to like pull the other team's code and go through it and make suggestions. Like all of this is really helpful to me.
Cool. Yeah, I would really just start with like QAing their branch. Like go to the actual URL and then make sure that the web page does what it's supposed to do and that they didn't break anything. I think that's a really great place to start. And then asking questions is a totally valid thing to do in code review. Just ask questions like, oh, what is this doing here? Right? It's a totally valid way to do code review and to get started, and it helps build that confidence and build that muscle of just doing code review.
I have a question. How long does it normally take on like a real job, like doing a code review over time? Like I know that we're working on a weekly basis on issues. So in a company, would it be longer to do a code review, or is it around the same time?
Oh, it really depends on the kind of changes that people are introducing. So it might be teeny tiny change where they're just altering one line of code, or it could be a bigger feature. I think a lot of teams will try to keep pull requests as small as possible, just to help minimize risk and to help that code review cycle go a little bit faster. It just really depends. I spend a ton of time on code review though, probably 1 to 2 hours a day reviewing code, because you just want to be really careful. You want to do it justice, make sure that you're really looking at the changes that that person has made, make sure that everything still works. And, you know, you want the quality of the code to be really excellent. So I spend quite a bit on it for sure. Nice. All right.
For Lauren, which is, what is that terminal app you're using? It has a really pretty border with the fade from like pink to orange.
Oh, mine, it's I'm using Hyper. HYPER. I'll post a link in the chat. Cool. It's fun. You can customize it. I had a Pikachu theme for a while.
Rad. Oh, that looks really cool.
Oh,
it's based on Electron. That's neat. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Didn't mean to derail us, and we have 10 minutes left. So at this point, I'd like to do some issue assignment. I'm just going to pop open the repo before I share real quick. Here's TCL 33. And so this week, the groups we're going to be working with are Manan and Arvin, and then Jennifer and Ekram. So that is the groups you'll be working in. And let's have a look at the issues. Share screen. See if I can figure out how to do that. Desktop 1. Okay. Y'all can see my screen, I take it?
Yep.
Phenomenal. All right. So again, Manan and Arvin, you're working together, and then Jennifer and Ekram, you're working together. Let's look at the issues list. All righty. So 2 we're not going to look at right now. We're looking at 3 and 4. I think we should be able to close 2 today. So issue 3, as a user, I want to set up a new shopping list so I can start tracking purchased items. A shopping list consists of a set of items associated with a user's token. Creating a new list consists of the following sequence. Number 1, generate a new unique token. Number 2, save the token to local storage. And number 3, show the user the list view. So that, let's hear, this source libtokens.js script is what you can use to generate the tokens. That's already in the code base, so take a look at it. Acceptance criteria. For users who do not already have a token or list, a button or link exists on the home screen that allows them to create a new list. As well, clicking on the button or link for this generates a new token and saves it to local storage. And once the token's been created and saved, the user is redirected to the list view. For users who do have a token already saved in local storage, they should be shown or redirected to the list view. And then notes on this, we have a wireframe that I think will show us a little bit more of how this is supposed to look. So you can see the token and the generator will usually make a few words, which are more or less unique for people to use. And this is kind of what we're going for, the idea being that like a token can be used so that multiple people can access the list, or that you can come back to a list you've already seen where you don't have like a saved session on your browser for it. And so, yeah, that's basically the idea of what the token's for and what we want it to look like eventually. But don't get too bogged down in the final look of the thing as well. Once again, the acceptance criteria are the main thing we want you to target here. Just make sure that whatever you're doing, you hit those. We will make it look pretty later, I promise. So yeah, that is, I think, going to cover that one. Let's look at number 4, and then we'll work on assignments. So number 4, as a user, I want to add a new item to my shopping list so I can start recording purchases. Cool. So this one I think is pretty self-explanatory in terms of why we want it. Basically, when you're looking at a shopping list item, one item has the item's name, how soon you're likely to buy it again with a few different categories you can see listed here, and then the last date that you purchased it on. So acceptance criteria will be the user is going to be presented with a form that allows them to enter the name of the item and select how soon they think they're going to need to buy it again. And so when the user submits the form, the item will get saved to Firestore associated with the user token, which ensures that whoever puts in the token, right, that's the same person who's going to be able to get the list or someone they authorize. That's the idea. Along with the item name, an integer corresponding to the estimated number of days until the next purchase is saved. So again, we want the user to tell us, like, is it going to be soon or kind of soon or not soon? And then we'll put the integer in there for like the next time they think they're going to need it. And we're storing that as an integer value so that we can, increment and decrement it as necessary. The last purchase date should be set to null initially, which is to say you can create an item on the list without having a last purchase date. And item name should be displayed as a simple unordered list after they're added on the list view. So this can get really overscoped really fast for something like this because there's a lot going on here. So this wireframe is going to help you, I guess, have an understanding of the add item view and what it's going to need. And so again, much as with the other one, take a look at the wireframes here. This is more of a finalized one, I think, of what the list is going to look like. But don't feel like you need to or even should implement too much of the prettiness of this. Just kind of make it work, make it like functional and hit the acceptance criteria. That's all we're really looking for. What we really need to do for this story is to just get a simple list of items displaying in list view, and to be able to add an item with the fields that were required. So that's where I'd like us to start this week. Does either group have a specific affinity for one of these or the other?
Could I make a
I don't-
suggestion? Oh, I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead,
was going to
Jennifer.
ask about the token, if I may,
Yeah.
because it seems like one group is setting up a token and then the other group is implementing it in their features. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't have any personal preference, but I'm just curious to know how this is going to work for us.
Yeah, in that sense, you'll want to work together with the other group to figure out what they're going to be like, how they're going to be calling that token, like what it will be, what variable that might be, or where it'll get passed to. But I think, that handling is something you'll have to work out between your group and the other group is more or less the short answer there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
And then for the people who are working on adding an item to a list, for the time being, they can use a made up string as their token. So they don't have to wait for the token group to be done with it. I think the coordination happens with how the token gets passed down to your add item list, that part. But in the meantime, just use a pretend token, just like Arvin and Jennifer, you did this week. You had collection, right? Or list as your Firestore name. You can do the same thing this week, just make one up.
That's a great idea, Lauren. Thank you very much for that. I should have said so myself. So which team is interested in taking the new list field? And this fella has a lot of the token setup stuff in it.
I mean, 3 is more like, back end stuff, right?
I think so. I guess I would say
Yeah,
that.
so I don't know, unless Minen feels like she wants to do that. How do you feel?
I'm open. Either way,
Yeah.
it'll be a learning experience, so we could jump in. If you want to do back end, we could do back end.
Yeah, so I was thinking, since I did like a little bit more back end on the first one, I'll probably take the number 4. That way, I could get a little bit out of my comfort zone there.
Makes sense to me. I've lost the. I'm sorry. What were the groups again? Was it Arvin and Manon? Okay. And so y'all are looking at number 4 then in that case?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then Jennifer, if ekram is really going to be out this week and not available, then one of us will work with you on the local storage one, on the create the new list one.
That would be fantastic.
So you're not all by yourself, all by your lonesome.
Okay. Let's see here. This one is going to be. This one should. Let's see here, Tanner. Do you think you're going to have some internet access this week?
Yeah, so the ISP person's supposed to be here this afternoon. So going into the week, I will be fully available. Back to
I
normal.
can contract you to help out with this one.
Absolutely, yeah, I'd be happy to.
All righty, thank you very much.
No problem.
Cool.
Thanks, Tanner.
All righty, so we are all assigned, and we have 3 minutes before we have to be done with this meeting, lest my contractual obligation with that demon I met in the cave fall through. So I appreciate all of your time. I'm sorry there's sirens. I live in the city at next to the siren factory or something. I don't know, but anyway, that'll do it for this week, I think, unless anyone has any questions at this time.
Do we have time to set up branches real quick?
We do, yes, and indeed we should. Lauren, would you like to guide us through that?
Yeah, sounds good. So actually, if you want to stop sharing your screen, and then Arvin and Manon, if you want to, actually, could somebody approve my pull request real quick so that can get merged into main?
You got it. Your PR is
Good.
already approved, but I think we can merge it, shall we?
Yeah, got it.
Merge attempt failed. Oh, there it is, successfully merged.
I just did it.
Okay, cool.
All right, I just merged into main. So Arvin or Manon, who wants to do the branch setting upping? Does anyone have their terminal just kind of pulled up already?
I do.
I can open it. Hold on. Okay.
Great. So I would go to, if you want to share your screen, that would be great. And we
Okay.
can do it together. And cool. And if you want to go to the main branch,
Well, I think it
oh,
was,
this set, wait. If you put the -B in there, it's telling you to make a brand new branch. So just,
okay.
you can just do git checkout main. Yep. Sorry to interject. All right. And then you'll want to pull down the latest changes. So go ahead and git pull.
Does that require a git add dot first or?
Nope. You're just gonna, I just merged some stuff into main. So you just want to bring down the latest. Hooray. Now we're going to do git checkout -B because you're going to create a brand new branch for yours and Arvin. So git checkout -B and then, yep.
AF.
Yeah.
Yes. And then dash
Dash.
feature, right?
Yeah. So I don't know, add item or something like that.
Okay.
Perfect. Then go ahead and do git status. I like to do git status. Cool. You don't have, and then I think you can just give git push a try, and then it might tell us what to do. Or yeah. Gorgeous. Then Arvin can pull that down. Go ahead and try to pull that down and make sure that you're able to do that.
For that, I just git pull on the main branch.
Yep, if you're on main, go ahead and git pull and then try to git checkout ms-af -add item.
1 second.
Yep.
Git pull. Okay. And now, okay. So I get pulled.
Okay, and you're on main,
And-
right?
Yeah. Git check
then you-
out AF. Yeah, I don't think I have it yet.
Try git checkout ms-af.
Mm-mm.
Can you, let's see, I'm gonna look in here. Branches, can you share your screen for me?
Okay. So now it says branch MSFF set up to track remote branch from origin.
Okay, and if you do, can you share your screen so you can show us?
I think it's working out. I'll share it though. Mhm. Yes.
Great, and you're on it. So, yep,
Mhm.
all right, you both have the same branch, perfect. All right, and then Jennifer, you wanna share your screen and you can create a branch and push one up, and then Tanner will be able to pull that down.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring up the right one. Can you guys see it?
Yep, and you're on main already, so I don't know if you get pulled.
I
already,
haven't.
but you-
I was
Okay.
watching what they were doing, so I didn't mess it up too bad.
Yeah, no. that's
Okay.
great. Perfect.
So I'm just gonna pull it, and then hopefully it pulls, and then so now I can go ahead and do make my branch. So
Uh-huh.
git checkout B, and then is it ekram s
Mhm.
is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's
and then
right.
JT, and then what is our feature called?
I guess new list or something like that.
Yeah, that one's good. New list.
Yeah. Yeah, looks good.
Yay, there it is. Okay, so
And then I think you can just push it and then it should be available.
Killer.
and then so when I do this I can't remember now. Do I just push this to main?
So in this case, I think you can just do git push and it'll do all of the magic for you because you haven't
Okay.
really added anything or committed anything. It's just creating a new branch. So if you just do git push and that's it,
Okay.
it just,
I've
and
had
not-
some
no-
weird things happen. But I don't know why, but my system seems to really want me the first time I push something to make sure I tell it where it's going. It's really
Okay.
strange.
yep. So you don't want to
Yeah,
git push main, just do git
so
push.
just get push. Okay.
Excellent.
Yay.
And then I think,
Do
let
we
me look
see it?
on,
Is it
let
there?
me see.
I would have thought we would have gone into like, I don't know, create mode or something. Yeah, I
Should
think
we delete the old branches?
push origin.
Because normally I have to push origin main.
In this
You
case,
could
I think we
try,
want push origin ISJT new list.
It's very sad. Okay. Git push. Because I swear usually I have to do the upstream. I
Not main.
think. Oh, it's not main?
No, you want to
Oh,
push
shoot.
ISJT
Yeah.
new list.
Upstream. Origin. SAT. New. Yeah, it's something, I don't know why. It's something strange with my system.
There you go.
Okay. Do you guys see
there
it?
you go.
Is it there?
Yep.
Yay. Okay. We
Yeah.
did it.
You
It
don't
only
want to
took
push
5
to
of us.
main, generally speaking, in the course of this course from the command line. So you should ordinarily not be doing git push origin main or git push main from here. Like sometimes that's warranted if you're like the only person in a code base and you want to push right to the main branch upstream. But generally speaking, you'll want to push to whatever branch you're on, not to main.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
and that is to say the only way code should get to main is via merging PRs, right? And so by pushing directly to main, we're kind of circumventing the PR process, and so we're trying to avoid that by not pushing.
Got it.
cool. All righty. What other questions does anyone have?
Quick one on on those old branches, since they're already merged. Should we just delete those or?
We can, not a big deal either way, honestly. I don't mind keeping them around, but if it's confusing anyone, we can sure hang on and like get rid of them.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question because when I did my push or my merge, I thought that I wasn't sure if the mentors had looked at the code. I wasn't, basically I had no idea if what I was pushing was approved at all. So where do I look?
Can I share my screen and I'll show you where to look.
Jennifer, are you talking about what happened just now when you pushed the branch up, or?
Oh, no, it was when Arvin had, he'd gone through and made all of our code look nice. And then, someone had noticed that there was an issue with the package lock. And I didn't realize, because in the past I've just deleted package lock, but then I did some reading and it said that, well, if you wanted to control the exact version that was used at the time that you were creating the app, then you could use the package lock and not modify it. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll just keep it and be safe. And so I went ahead and just merged that update with the current code. And then I went to push it and eventually merge it. But I wasn't sure at that point if everybody had looked at it and if everything was okay. So I didn't know if the mentors had even looked at it.
Yep. Can someone quick approve mine and then I'll show you what it looks like, Jennifer, when someone's reviewed it and approved it and then it's ready to be merged.
That branch is already merged.
It's already merged, but I just want to show them what it looks like when the green check mark is on there so that it's done. So you can still go to files changed and then review changes.
Okay.
Can you? I guess not.
I can submit a review.
Let's see if I can find one. Basically, what you're looking for, Jennifer, is here. It's going to show you a big green check mark if someone's approved it officially. Let me see if I can find one. Someone's approved. One moment. And there, let's try here.
I mean, I just felt terrible thinking, because it didn't occur to me that I could merge it if it hadn't been approved.
So here are where your reviewers will show up. And this person has approved this pull request. You'll see a green check mark.
Yeah, it's so you can't really not properly circumvent the merge request process, even if you're pushing that. GitHub has some safeguards against that. In this case, it would be very difficult to do work on a branch and have that branch pushed to main. It's hard to do that accidentally. There's ways of doing it, but ordinarily, I think if you're not deep into a strange and unfamiliar circuitous Git workflow, you're probably not doing anything dangerous by pushing something up. But you'll see the status of the reviews and the status of the currently changed files in pull requests, and in the bottom of the conversation part, it shows you whether or not the PR has been approved.
Okay, thank you. That makes it clearer being able to see that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, folks, unfortunately, I have to call it, but I will post recordings this weekend of last week's meeting and today's meeting, and let us know what questions you have. We'll see you later on this week for office hours. I think Lauren's holding them.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Yeah, we'll see you all real soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks. And nice demos. Nice work.
Yeah, nice work, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.